Hey, all, it's Whiskey. Welcome to Bugs and a Lip Gloss. And I am here today. Well, first of all, thank you for joining me and these wonderful women warrior stories and all these things that we share about our healing journeys. And we're going to dive into another one. This is my friend Rocco, who I love so much. She's helped me on my journey so much, and I appreciate her so much. So, Rocco, if you would
Ah,
please introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, my name is Rocco. I am, late 30s, pushing 40. I met our dear host, sitting at my bar in Sturgis, just you know, enjoying the scenery and people watching, and we had a lot in common. So I'm blessed to call her part of my tribe. So thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, yeah. So I don't know. I've been on a really good path these days. It's taken me a long time to get here. Um, Motorcycles have a lot to do with it. Other women have a lot to do with it, but mostly just me wanting a change has a lot to do with it. I am the product of addicts and alcoholics, from generation to generation to generation. So, like, I'm the one that was like, yes, I do have my issues, but I'm the one that was like, all right, it's time to change things. This isn't working anymore. So here I am on my journey.
Yay. I'm so glad you're on your journey. And with that, because there's been a lot of the lady stories that are all we're all not all, but that there's been this running current of addiction issues and drugs and alcohol either beforehand or after different traumas or cycles that we've figured out. So if you could or whatever, and you are totally in the driver's seat with this, whatever you want to share with details of your backstory and your history that before you got on your healing journey, if whatever you want to share, we're all ears for you.
Cool. Well, let's see. Mom and dad, I'm a product of the 80s, and they were partiers in the 70s and 80s, and so I am a product of a party, and that's why I'm so fun. I'm like a train wreck full of fireworks and glitter.
You put the fun
Um,
in dysfunctional.
so anyway, I really do. No, I just growing up, a lot of bouncing around with my mom. Dad bailed, which I don't blame him when I was really young. And because my mother is crazy and I love my mother. And I say that with all of the love and respect that I could for a single mom raising me, like, because as I got older, I think I was a handful. So, but a lot of the things that I went through with my mom kind of affected me and kind of warped my view of how the world was supposed to be.
Mhm.
Like uh, I really didn't grasp that relationships were supposed to be healthy or, like productive or, she tried her best. She really did. But, you know, a lot of trauma happened, a lot of boyfriends in and out of the house. Not like a lot, but I don't want to make my mom sound
Right. No, I get
like
it.
something she's not. But anyway, uh, I just I grew up wild and I grew up in a party environment, and so I started partying at a very young age. You know, I look back and I think now, like, Jesus Christ, if I knew any 10 or 11-year olds that were acting the way I acted and the things I did, I would have a heart attack. Like, I would lose my shit and call the child services and like freak out. But I partied a lot, got pregnant, had a baby very young. I still, did everything I was supposed to do, moved out before I even graduated high school, supported my kid. But I fell into that trap of this warped relate, how relationships were supposed to be. I had deadbeat boyfriends that didn't work, and I was the one that worked, and I paid the bills, and I had a car and they didn't. And like, I was, you know, I'm 19, 20 years old buying a 22-year-old his cigarettes and booze and like letting him drive my car and like just stupid things, just being walked on and not valuing myself at all.
Hmm.
And that continued for most of my 20s. And then I got into a relationship with my ex-husband, and he's fantastic, wonderful man. But I met him in a bar. I was behind the bar working as a bartender, and he was in a bar drinking. And you know, it's just a bartender and a drinker. And after so many years, you know, we got married and we did all the things we were supposed to do. You know, had Christmases and raised our kids and went on vacations and bought a house and got married, you know, like things you do as, you know, single parents, because we were both single parents.
Right.
And you know, it was a really good time. And we, you know, I enjoyed a lot of it, but you know, sometimes when addiction has its grubby little hands in people, it makes you grow apart. And
Right.
sadly, my ex-husband and I grew apart, you know, and then I won't say it was all because of drinking. Um, I I threw myself into work because I didn't want to be around an alcoholic, or I didn't want to be home, and I didn't, you know, like I didn't wanted to be away. So I threw myself into, you know, three jobs and kind of, you know, I take fault in it. I didn't put in as much work as I should have in my own marriage to maybe save it. And you know, and there's our trauma again. Like, I couldn't save our marriage. Well, it takes two
Right.
people to save a marriage, not just one.
Yep.
So you know, it didn't work out. And after my ex-husband, you know, I was like, nope, no more. I'm gonna just get a motorcycle and just say fuck everyone. And I kind of did for the most
I know
part.
that feeling.
But I just really at that point, you're right. I did not. You were, you know, you were braver than me. Like, I didn't go that. You went that, just, you know what, fuck it, and you did it. So I envy you, because in the back of my head, I've always wanted to do that. But no, so, and that's kind of whenever I realized my marriage was failing, and I was kind of, the light bulbs were going off about like, oh man, like, that's, you know, this isn't how it's supposed to be. I started therapy and counseling, you know, and that's when I kind of started that whole like standing up for myself and my journey, and how to, you know, how to be better to myself. It's kind of started 8, 9 years ago. Well, not that long, maybe 7 years ago. So I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling. I
Oh, you're
apologize. Can
fine.
am
No,
am I going?
you're absolutely fine. I just asked the
Um,
question and let it flow.
I yeah, I so after my divorce, I I started long distancing someone, and that gave me a lot of independence, because it kind of gave me that first uh you know, healthy tidbit into what like relationship status, you know, relationships should be, you know. It was like that whole like, he has a whole separate life way over there and I have my life over here, you know. And it was like, do we want to mingle them, you know? And so I played that for a while, just to see like, do I want to do that, or do I just want to like focus on myself? I definitely fell into the trap of, I want to mingle it, because I think I found a really good one. But God, I totally feel like I'm rambling.
You're not, I promise. So what, and do you think like is this the relationship that you're in now? I'm gonna ask that.
Yes.
Okay, so I know that background. So do you think that because you had that physical distance and that you literally had a physical barrier of space, right?
Mm. That, 1,400 miles of space. And I think that's fantastic. I recommend long distance relationshiping to everyone.
But at this
I
and at the same time, there could be some pitfalls to that. I mean, because you don't know
maybe
real it worked out great for you.
the, but no, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
That gave me, because I am that person that's like, well, I don't know what's happening. Like, I'm not there. Like, your wheels are always spinning. And I have been that person my whole life that always goes to worst case scenario. My whole life. I've just been conditioned to just worst case scenario. I have
Survival mode.
what if, yes, I have what if, should have, how comed myself to death in every situation I've ever been in. Could I have done it better? Should I have said this? Like I learned early on in therapy that I am, like an emotional hostage of other people. I'm so afraid of what's happening in other people's lives and like how my actions will affect someone else, that I am an afterthought, that I don't think of how it's affecting me. I'm too worried about how it might affect someone else. But I digress there. But as far as that space goes, it had to let me learn to trust and learn to take somebody at their word
Right.
and just be comfortable as a man speaking to me and giving me his word. And that's a hard pill to swallow for me. Like I usually trust a man about as far as I can throw him. And I'm not a big girl. Like
Yeah.
so that's really a hard pill for me to swallow, to just sit back and take a man for his word, when it comes to an intimate relationship,
Right.
because of all of my past hangups and, all of the things I've been through,
Right.
I've had I've had ex-boyfriends do the most unthinkable things, like just rude, out of line things to me. Like, I've had a boyfriend once, because he didn't want to take me in public, would like roofie me in my own house so I would go to sleep and he could go out. Like, who does these? And then you think, well, who sticks around for that kind of abuse?
Yeah.
Me. Like, well, in your 19, 20, 21. I mean, when I was 21, I think that's when that relationship stopped, because I was like, I saw the writing on the wall finally and was like, okay, we're really done here. And that time, I actually did pack up all my shit and leave in the middle of the night. Never told him where I went. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it worked out.
It worked
Like,
out.
I did pull a Houdini. I did was like, good night, gone. Like, never to be
Well,
seen again.
yeah. But and when you I'm backtracking you a little bit. When you started, well, you okay. So when you started the healing journey and you got yourself into therapy and you realized that you're the people pleaser enabling best friend that you are, right?
Mm.
Best friend to everybody,
I
even the
would,
ones that don't deserve it. Um, what
yeah, yeah, I would say so.
I'm just paraphrasing there. Um, what what did you find in yourself, or what did you have to change? Like, was there one thing that you had to intentionally stop doing or be aware of?
Yeah, so when I realized that I, am so caught up, that, I'm so worried about how what I want might hurt someone else. Like, whenever you're in like a complex situation and that first, your inner monologue tells you exactly what you want, like in your head, like the rebuttal is in your head, but your mouth won't say it because it's going to hurt that person. I had to just let it come out
Mm-hmm.
and then like work through it, like, all right, the card is on the table. Let's work through it. Can we work through it? That's how I feel. It was finally just opening up enough and allowing myself to say whatever crossed my mind with, I wouldn't say without fear of how it was going to make the other person feel, but with just knowing and hoping that the other person could understand me enough or respect me enough to communicate with me.
Right.
Because that's another thing I learned, that like communication, wow, it really is a big part of relationships, you know, like you can't just say I'm sorry and bottle everything up and expect it to change
Right.
anything, you know, like I learned that a changed behavior is a better than an I'm sorry, or you know, like I just learned to stop that that silencer that I've been trained to put on my, you know, like of my emotions, that, you know, growing up, you don't want to say what you want to feel, you know, how you feel, because you know it'll cause problems, or you know it's going to upset somebody. And
Right.
especially growing up, how I did, you walk on eggshells and
Yep.
you learn to just keep your mouth shut, to
Yep.
just hold it in and figure it out and deal with it later or whatever, you know, or just go along with what the other person wants, because don't rock the boat.
Yep. And do you feel like there's actually two voices?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I found that there is, you know, a little bit of inner monologue from the good guy and the bad guy, you know. I mean, and I won't say the bad guy, but I would
Right.
say like an inner monologue from
You.
the Rocco people expect, and the Rocco that would just really like to punch you in the face sometimes. Like,
Yep.
but I, you know, and I know now in my older age that violence is not the answer, and you know,
Oh no,
we
you
don't
can
put our
you
hands,
want to punch them, you just can't.
yeah, and you know, we don't hit the people we love, you know. So I know those things now.
Now.
Now, yeah, see, we're learning. I'm still learning.
Yeah. No, and I think because I actually saw a TikTok the other day that the lady was in therapy and her therapist asked her if she had a dialogue going on in her brain all the time, and she goes, yeah, there's constantly a conversation with her. And she's the therapist told her that it's actually a trauma response, that not everybody has that inner dialogue like we do, and it's
This
because we haven't been able to voice all those things and figure all those things out without either a judgment or a like a retribution or something coming back at us. So we learn to process those things inside. So there's constantly this conversation going on with ourselves because we didn't at some point necessarily trust that we could have that conversation with somebody else.
I can probably attest to that 100%,
And I was like,
in
whoa.
especially in my adolescence. I had no one I could, well, I didn't feel like I had anyone I could really have those conversations with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh it's a struggle, you know. It's crazy to look back and see the women that sadly are not with me anymore that really could have been my guiding light, or were trying to be, I should say, we're really trying to be my guiding light, and I shut them out, and I just didn't participate, and I didn't open up enough, you know. And looking back, I definitely, you know, wish I would have, but you know, you can't go back, so you just got to
No,
learn from it.
and we function from our wounds, and I think a lot of us are taught that we're just that island. We're on our own. We don't need anybody else. We know what we're doing, right? Because we're protecting ourselves, and it's that again, that inner dialogue going, well, I don't need them because I've got this, or I'll figure this out. And
Yeah, I'll figure it out. God, I think I've survived all of my teens, 20s, and 30s with I'll figure it out. And it hasn't been till, the last, I won't even say 4 years, maybe 3 years, that I have stop saying, I'll figure it out, and just say, does anyone have any suggestions? Anyone want to help me? Like, comments, concerns? Anybody got anything for me?
There's a
I'm all
suggestion
ears.
box by the door. Leave your cards on the way out.
Please leave your suggestions right here.
Well, and I've done a bunch of these interviews, right? I'm front loading everything this week, and so many of these women have said that things have started to flip for them in the last 2 or 3 years. Like it's a huge percentage of them is like in the last 2 or 3 years that all these things have started to turn over and they've started to make their changes. Why do you think in the last 2 or 3 years that's that timeline for you?
Honestly, what is this? I'm going on my 6th year of bartending at the Sturgis rally,
Hmm.
and it was um so 7 years ago is when I really started. Well, 6 years, 7 years ago to bartend, and I didn't, because I was afraid that my ex-husband at the time, or my kids, or whoever would, you know, not be happy.
Right.
Even though I've been a bartender for 17 years, and in dive bars, and nightclubs and sports bars, I just I turned down my first opportunity to bartend at Sturgis, and it devastated me. Like, inside, my little bartender heart died just a little bit, because that's like, you know, you're from the middle of nowhere, Missouri, and you get invited to go to Sturgis to bartend. Like, that's that's like the Oscars or something,
Right.
Like, I don't know what to compare it to, other than that's a hell of an invite to turn down. But I did it because I was scared what the people around me, my loved ones, well, I thought at the
Right.
time, how it would affect them. So I didn't. Well, then the next year rolled around, and I got the phone call again. We would really like you to come work. And yeah, I said, you know what? Yes, yes, I'm going. And I do feel like, from that moment that I said yes and stood up for what I wanted, this is what I want to do. And I don't care who it pisses off, and I don't care who's upset, and I don't care you know, who's going to take care of the house, or who's going to, you're all grown. Like, you can all feed yourselves, and you can all, like, take the dog out, and you all know how to cook dinner. Like, figure it out. Like, I don't need to hold your hand forever.
Right.
And I think from that moment on, when I started accepting that it's okay for me to do what I want, everything has progressively gotten better and gone my way. Not all the time, but more.
Right.
I feel like my quality of life has gotten better since I started standing up, and this is what I want. You know,
Because
this is what
your quality
this
of
is what I
self,
deserve. This is what I want.
yeah, your quality of self has gotten better.
Right,
And
right.
they equate. I have weird shadows, y'all. I swear it's nighttime here and I'm blocking my own ring light. Sorry. I talk with my hands. But your quality of self, and it's not just you. I mean, I've seen it in my own life too. Like your quality of self is totally in line with the quality of your life. Like these choices directly affect those results, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely. And so you've done, and then that's where I met you. And by the way, you don't have a little bartender heart. You have a big bartender heart.
Thank you. I guess I might sell myself short, but yeah, I feel like I do. I love bartending. It brings me so much joy. Just so, like, I love getting to talk to new people and hearing everybody's, how was your day? Or even, how's your week been? Or where you been? Where you going to? Like, it's my favorite. Like, it's my favorite social interaction. And I
Well,
would say at motorcycle rallies, it's like top tier. because it's like-minded people, you know?
Right. There's an energy like it's a family subculture
Oh, absolutely.
and I've noticed a lot of people in the biker community. It's like the land of misfit toys for a lot of us, right? Like
Yeah,
a,
I agree with that. I will.
a lot of us are born into it and then the rest of us finally get there. Like I wasn't born into the biker subculture, but I finally got there. Right. And it was a process of finding myself in that subculture and kind of growing into it. Right. So were you, and on that note, were you born into the biker culture or did you find your way into it?
I was born on the back of a chopper, literally. I mean, you know, not
Not
physically, but you know,
literally.
for the longest time before I was born, that was the only vehicle my mom and dad had. And my mom can tell you stories on how salty she was when my dad came home and traded, you know, the nice motorcycle, the dresser that he had, for this piece of shit chopper, you know, and that was right before I was born. And actually, one of my favorite photos of me as a baby is I am like hanging on the sissy bar of this bike, you know, and my dad's working on it. And like, and I am literally like, I'm not even a year old. And so, yeah, I was definitely born uh, into the motorcycle community. Uh,
Yeah.
and then, you know, after dad left, every boyfriend my mom had, you could pretty much guarantee, you know, there was a motorcycle was involved, or, you know, somehow ties to the community, you know. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. And my mom loves motorcycles too. You know, she's never had one of her own. She has rode motorcycles herself, and I think, you know, in my whole life I've always been on the back of one. And it wasn't until uh during my marriage, uh my ex-husband is a hot rod guy, and I love hot rods. I like fast cars, I like fast motorcycles, but he and I bonded over hot rods. Well, during our marriage, I finally said, you know, like, I think I want a motorcycle. I think I'm going to just get my own motorcycle, you know? Like, it's been so long since I've gotten to ride on one, and you know, I'm going to do it myself.
Right.
And that was like one of the first coming aparts of my marriage, is when I stood up and said, I'm going to get a motorcycle. And my ex husband was like, well, I don't like that. And I was like, well,
Doesn't that
sorry.
suck?
And sorry. Well, you know, and it was like, either let me get my own motorcycle, or like, are you going to let, like, you know, I'm going to go out with my buddies and my friends and my cousins that have motorcycles, you know, and like, are you comfortable with that? Well, no, I'm not comfortable with that. Okay, well, then I'm going to get my own, you know, and that wasn't good enough. So, anyway, that was one of the first
Did you get your
chinks in the
own Venmo?
armor.
Did you go ahead
Yeah,
and get it?
I saved a bunch of money from bartending, and you know, one of the many bartending jobs I had at the time, and bought a little Sportster, an 883 Sportster. It was one of my customers sold it to me. He was like, "Oh, I got the perfect bike for you," and it was, and I loved it. And I literally probably only rode it. Well, I bought it and didn't even have my license. I registered it one of the Harley Davidsons in St. Charles, uh, and took the class, got my motorcycle license, and rode it about 5, 6 times, and then my marriage just had its shelf life was over. So I
Okay.
ended up selling it because I needed money, and it was, you know, it was an expendable, you know, it was money sitting there in the garage. So I was like, screw it. So I actually sold it back to the guy I bought it from, and was like, hey man, I gotta get cash. I gotta get out of here. Like, I need a place to live. Can you buy this thing back from me? And he was like, you know what? Yeah, I can. And I'm like, all right, sweet. So, and then that was how I exited my marriage, you know? And
That is so heartbreaking. Just
you
the
know,
motorcycle part. I know.
it is, but you know, then my next bike I didn't get until I came to Arizona and I got a bitchin' 81 shovel head and like some badass vintage bike, and I love it, and it's my baby, and I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. I really
Actually
don't.
leveled up all the way around your whole life. Like it went
It,
next
it,
level. You got everything back, but better.
I did, and now like I'm blessed with, a really a supportive significant other who literally pushes me to do anything I want to do.
Mm,
And even stuff I don't want to do. Like I say I don't want to do, but like he knows, like if it's something I want to do, he'll push me to it, like he wants me to do everything in the world I want to accomplish. He pushes me to just get up every day and, be amazing. And it's amazing the support that I have found now, and, how I'm learning like these I've learned what a healthy relationship is and what it is to be supported and
right.
nurtured, and just like someone that just really is passionate about seeing you love your life. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it it's great to give that kind of energy to someone who gives it back to you. Like we as women, we think we can fix the world and we can, take care of everybody, but it's really nice to have someone that wants to put in that same amount of energy into you, into the whole into the whole dynamic, whether if there's kids involved, like they put in just as much energy as you do, and it's amazing. I've never had that in my whole life, so it's crazy to level up, and it is, sometimes you gotta sometimes you gotta get rid of one motorcycle to get a better motorcycle.
Yeah. Like and that's really a good lesson too is like and I've done it and that fear of letting go what's not good for you. And if we don't
Yeah.
let go of what's not good for us, we're never going to find what is good for us. We can't
No,
you can't have both. It's just two different worlds.
it is. And that fear of unknown has kept me trapped for so long in situations I had no business being in, but what do they say? The devil or whatever. Well, that's bullshit,
Yeah.
because if it's not good, if it's not bringing you joy or peace or happiness or, you know, all of those positive things, let it fucking go.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
just let it go. I don't care where it goes. I don't care where you drop it off at, the side of the road, off a cliff, wherever. Let it the fuck go.
Leave it
And
behind
it
and get on a Harley.
and just go. Like just hammer down, go as fast as you can safely. Uh and just let it all go. Leave it behind. And trust me, there is something really cool over there.
Yeah. And I
There
can honestly say you guys have hosted me on this journey that I'm on and I've spent multiple days in your home and I can tell everybody like that energy that you're talking about and that mutual respect and all that is genuinely in your home. I've been in your home. I can tell well just I just know things, right? Like I can sense it's part of that survival mechanism thing. Like you can sense when things are off, right? So it's
Oh
not
yeah,
I'm magic.
absolutely.
It's
No,
one of our
absolutely.
trained skills. We can sense those things,
You are highly attuned to what is happening in the room. Like, I
right?
know, and I am. So it's good though, and I'm glad that you were here, and I'm glad that you got to see my little piece of blessing here, my little home life here. It's really good.
It
So
was so much fun. And your dog. I love your dog. So
oh,
so what are have you been working on? It's something that's not typical for we ladies to be doing, and I know you've had a little bit of frustration this week, but what have you been working on?
I can only assume you are speaking of my new build for my 113 Ultima build. So I have
And by if for people that don't know what you're talking about, building what?
Building a rigid frame chopper motorcycle.
Mhm.
So a couple months back, I got an opportunity to buy this Ultima motor, just a motor, and it was at a really good price. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And everyone was like, well, what are you gonna do with it? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Either I'm gonna learn it and build it and make it really fast and sell it, or you know, I'm gonna build a bike around it and keep it or sell it. I don't know. I'm just something I've always said I wanted to build a motorcycle, like from nuts and bolts, piece by piece. And I started to do that. I got the motor. I acquired the motor a couple months ago and started learning, rebuilding it, the just the internals and, the lower end of it, the camshaft and all of these things, and then the top end. And I've become really good at push rods because some when you reassemble push rods and you're adjusting them, you have to put the tube back on before you adjust it, or else then you have to take it all back off and then put the tube on. I've become very aggravated at myself for the littlest things. Like I do get high strung when things don't go my way all the time. So this is a nice exercise in patience for me, because I got to do it right, because I'm going to get on it and go 100 miles an hour down the road. And
Right.
I I would really like, you know, it to hold up and be
Not to blow
correct,
up.
and not to just grenade it quarter mile down the road. Because let's just put it out there right now. If that happens to me, y'all might see a side of me that y'all have never seen, because I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. But no, seriously, I have been it has been a test of my patience, because I'm not a perfectionist, but I feel like when I really put my mind to something and I really want to do it, I feel like I can accomplish it. Build a motorcycle. You will learn that just because you think you can doesn't always mean it's going to go perfect. Uh,
Right.
it's been a test of my patience, but I am enjoying every moment of it. Uh, I'm loving everything I'm learning. I am absorbing all kinds of information. Some I already had, and some that
Yeah.
that is just new to me.
I was just going to ask if you already knew how to wrench and build bikes, or if this is you're learning, if baptism by fire.
This is kind of like you know uh AAA league, not the main. Like I mean, like I got my basics. Like what I learned, I've grown up in garages, so
Right.
I know how to turn wrenches. I know, you ask me for a socket or whatever. Yeah, I can go get that, and I can pretty much kind of be led to what I need to be done. But as far as, knowing how much foot pounds of torque on certain bolts need to be done, fuck if I know. Like, what do you mean? Like, there's there's pressure on bolts like that need to be a certain way. Like that was kind of, I mean, not really news to me, but it's just nothing I've never done or
Right.
ever done. So that's the learning. That's the little minute intricate things, and like, 3 1/4 turn on your push rods, like, and just crazy stuff that I didn't
Technical
know
stuff.
before. It's very technical, minute stuff. And the my counselor, my guidance through this whole project, I call him like the Rain Man of Harleys, because he is, you know, he can tell you everything from knucklehead to M8, and every bolt and every what specs every bolt needs to be torqued down to on everything.
Right.
And And me, I'm like, oh, this little bolt and this little hole with the shiny goopy stuff,
Yeah,
you know.
I
And
could
he just
totally
looks
see
at
that
me,
happening.
oh, absolutely. Like I am definitely like the thingamajig, the thing. And he just looks at me like, no, I got no fucking idea what the thing is. And I'm like, no, doesn't know.
So,
It's,
okay. So with with all that, like I've met all these amazing women that have done amazing things, and like when we start standing into our or stepping into ourselves, like these things come out that people are like, they're not conventional, right? Like I went motorcycle nomad. I have a friend that just hiked across the Grand Canyon 22 miles in a single hike. Um, you're
that's on the bucket list. I want to do that.
Yeah, you're building motorcycles. I have another friend that when she went through her process of things, she backpacked the world for 2 years, right?
That's
So,
amazing.
and like next year I'm doing Hoka Hey. So there's all these like out
I
of
can't wait for that.
whoop, whoop, all of these like just that they're unconventional. They're not stereotypically feminine things, right? So like
I
what
think I
go
think
ahead.
it's a strength. Like it gives us independence.
Yeah, like we
I
push.
just I think that,
Go ahead.
yeah. I definitely think that whenever we really feel like stepping into ourselves and showing the world, okay, world, no more, no more filters, no more shine, I'm not putting on my happy face. This is who I am. A lot of it isn't very delicate and isn't very feminine or, you know, I don't know what the word that how to encompass it, but I think a lot of it is it just it's kind of our introduction is fragile, not fragile like a flower, fragile like a bomb, like
Yeah,
here I am.
like, and I think the way I would describe it is actually the dark feminine. Like we're that kind of, and I've used this in a different video too. Is like I am all love, but I'll burn this bitch down, right? Like it's that I will give you my heart as long as you don't step on my heart, and that's to the world, right? But we know that we have our hard lines now. We have our boundaries now. We've stepped into our power now, and I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is for myself personally. I don't know that I'm showing myself to the world and proving that I can do these things to the world so much as I'm proving I can do them to myself for myself.
Yes, I think that kind of is the bottom line, that like we just need to know it for ourselves, just and then it's not just for us to know I did that. I put my mind to it and I did it. And it's kind of, you know, this motorcycle thing is definitely, top of my priority, but that's an outward expression of me. Like so
Right.
the personal trainer I hired a personal trainer is like me committing to me, my health, my appearance, or, just, you know, me, so I don't know, it's a commitment, and it's crazy whenever you just actually commit to yourself and your wants and your dreams, whenever you finally stop putting up with everyone else's bullshit
And
and
stop
just do what
asking
you want to do.
permission. We stop asking
ah
permission.
and stop saying I'm sorry. Since you and I had
Yes.
that conversation,
Yeah.
I have it's really done wonders for me. It really has.
You guys. Okay. Okay, let me give some backstory here. I stay at Bunko Bikers, and I stay at friends host my stays where I go and things like that. And over and over again, first of all, I teach women in my women's group to stop saying I'm sorry and taking ownership for things that aren't yours. And a lot of times I walk into these homes, or I'm welcome into these homes, but the first thing the woman does in the house is apologize for her house. I'm a guest in their home, and they've opened their home to me, and I appreciate my host and my hostesses for the gift they're giving me, right? And the first thing that happens when I walk into homes is the lady apologizes for it. And I'm like, please, please stop apologizing for your living space that you open to somebody else. So, and,
Absolutely. Yeah. And why are we conditioned like that? Like, why is that? And like, I don't live in the Taj Mahal, and I don't live in a white glove, ecosystem where everything is spotless. But I also know my house is clean, but yet I still felt the need to look at you and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry about the dog hair." Well, there's a dog that lives here, dummy. Like, duh, there's gonna be dog hair. Like,
yeah,
or like,
sorry I didn't shave the dog before you got here, even though there'd still be dog hair all over the house because that's what dogs do, right? So,
because
and,
he lives here, because
yeah,
it's his house.
it's his house, not my house,
But
right?
yeah,
And so we had that
I'm sorry.
conversation. We had that conversation as friends about the whole apologizing for things and taking ownership of things, A, that don't make sense, or B, that you don't own. And what has happened? What has that done?
It really has, for whatever reason, I no longer am taking ownership of shit I'm not sorry for. Like, I am not, you know, the littlest things that we apologize for. There, when you say I'm sorry, it's supposed to be an apology, like a heartfelt, like, I'm really sorry I hurt you, or I'm really sorry that you and I's conversation went the wrong direction and we misunderstood each other. I am sorry. Like, that isn't I'm sorry to me, like, I'm sorry I hurt you, or a true heartfelt apology. So, like, why am I saying I'm sorry in the grocery store for almost bumping your cart?
That's the
Like,
example I was just going to use. They bump into you and you say, I'm
right.
sorry.
And so I have literally, like you said, like, every time a minor inconvenience or one of those small scenarios pops up, I just giggle and go, well, that's unfortunate, and like walk away, because it's so much better. I feel 20 pounds lighter because I'm not carrying around the fact that I've apologized 14 times today for shit that was out of my control. Like, it makes my soul a little lighter because I'm not saying, oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, sorry. No, that shit's unfortunate. Deal with it. Move on. Like,
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I love you so much. For real.
it's great. It's absolutely great. Like, that's unfortunate. Whatever.
Right. It has no bearing on your life after 2 seconds. Just
Yeah.
fun.
Because the shit we're apologizing for has zero bearing and is irrelevant in 2 seconds. Like, why are we saying I'm sorry?
Absolutely. So we're gonna get ready. We're gonna get ready. As we close this down, I ask ladies all the time, first of all, what does your future look like? What's in your plans?
Uh, my imme- my immediate plans are beginning. Well, I'm gonna next 2 days from now. I'm gonna go back to Missouri and see my baby boy who turns 20. So I'm gonna go celebrate my baby's 20th birthday, and then in July I hit Milwaukee for the first time to have a little bartend spot at House of Harley. So pretty excited about that. And then, as always, in July, I will head to South Dakota at everybody's favorite rock and roll farm, Pappy Hoel Campground.
Which is
And
attached to what? Which is Pappy Hoyle is attached to what? Because I think
well, yes, the world famous Full Throttle Saloon is
right.
on Pappy Hoyle campground. So, you know, when you're done with the party at the full throttle, you mosey up the hill to the big red building, and yours truly will have adult beverages and sassy commentary and, good times and great scenery. I'm partial to my bar. I feel like
I
my
am
bar has the
too.
most beautiful scenery in all of South Dakota. I really do. I guess I'm just biased. I'm spoiled, but I feel like I have the best scenery in South Dakota.
Well, your bar's actually quieter and you can have a conversation. Not that I don't like the full throttle saloon, but it's a
No, yeah.
entirely different. It has its own personality, and it's the
I
cool,
tell everybody,
laid back neighborhood bar.
and that's what I tell everybody. Listen, you go down to the full throttle, and that's the party. That's the frat house. That's what you came to see. That's the loud in your face. And then in the morning, when you're hungover and regretting some of the decisions you may or may not have made the night before at the throttle, you come to my bar where I nurse you back to health. We'll have some breakfast drinks. We'll talk about life. I'll give you some water, maybe some ibuprofen.
I mean,
And,
Bloody
we'll get a
Mary.
game. Yeah, the delicious Bloody Marys. And we'll get a game plan to make today better. Like I care about you, not, I always say, like, that's the party. I'm the hometown bar. And, we all get a kick out of it, but we're all one big crazy family. Make no
Eh,
mistake.
absolutely. So, and yeah, I'm so glad I met you there, and I will so see you there again. But as we wrap this up now, what if you could wrap up everything in your experience into 2 or 3 sentences, like what sage advice or what would you give to another lady and or gent that's come through the things that you've come through, that you would tell them, look, I'm gifting you this. This is what I want you to understand.
That you deserve greatness. You deserve respect. You deserve love. And there are people out there that are more than willing to shower you with it, smother you with it. But you have to respect yourself enough to know who to share it with. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
Because
you gotta you gotta keep true to yourself, and the ones that want to be true to you will find you. And you just gotta do what makes you happy, and the people that love you are gonna love you through all of it. And the ones that get salty about a decision you've made for yourself, maybe they weren't on your team the whole time. So it's okay, some people are a blessing and some are a lesson. So you just got to figure out who's worth it.
absolutely. And you are so worth it in my life. I love you so much. Thank you so much. And to everybody else in the show notes, because she's told you where she's gonna be. You're not finding her on a website somewhere, you're finding her at a bar, which sounds really weird considering the forum that I'm on right now, but no, we get it. But so everybody else, my in the show details, if you want to support my ministry and continue keeping me on the road so that I can keep doing what I'm doing and keep working with other women and keep all of this going and me rolling down the road. All those details to connect and support me are going to be in the show notes. And I love you all so much. And Rocco, thank you so much for just spending time with us.
Hey, I feel like I rambled, but thank you for having me. I love you. I'm always down to spend time with you, and be safe and keep doing what you're doing. I'm super proud of you, friend.
Thank you so much. And y'all keep on rocking.